I'm a fan of names and things. Why is this thing named Big Rhonda? We're back. What's up, guys? I got Mr. Ryan Langer with me. We're in his state. He's the mayor of Prerunner.
The mayor. I'm the department of maintenance.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense. You run the county yard.
Yeah.
For Prerunners, right?
Public Works Department.
What's the name of this thing?
This is Big Rhonda.
Okay. I'm a fan of names and things. Why is this thing named Big Rhonda?
Martin named it Big Rhonda after a character in that 70s show.
Well, now you have to state your name.
My name is Martin Monzo. I'm lead fabricator at Langer Racing, and I help build Big Rhonda.
Did you just go fully professional?
I did. You like that?
Yeah, dude.
I don't know.
What are you doing?
10 hot.
Everything ended up fine.
So you welded the arms on Ryan Lister's car too?
Yes.
Right? So you're that welder guy?
Yeah, I did.
That's beautiful.
Anything that's been welded on that thing in the last couple of years.
Okay, so this is your big welder guy too. Not just lead fabricator,
Yeah.
also lead welder.
Yeah, preferably just welder. Yeah.
Yeah. If
Oh, you're that.
I have
okay.
to fabricate.
He has to fabricate to
So I
weld,
can
but he
it,
would just
yeah.
weld
I'd
if he
rather
could just weld.
it.
And I'm the opposite.
Yeah.
I hate welding.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I wish I had someone that could just do that. But
Well, when we started, he was working a second shift job,
yeah,
Yeah.
and I would fit everything up and tack it together, and then go home and go to bed.
yeah.
And then he'd come in at midnight and weld till 4 in the morning, and then go home.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's efficient.
Just send me pictures of what needed to be welded.
Like, weld this, don't weld
Yeah.
this. I got to make some more parts, and he would come in and slay all the dimes and do the stuff. And
Well, good job. Keep doing what you're doing.
There was a funness to that.
Totally. So, Big Rhonda is here, right?
Yep.
That's our name we have for this thing. I'm pretty into naming vehicles, feminine names. So why do we have Big Rhonda here?
So Randy has a wife named Renee,
Yep.
and all his kids and everybody in the family is named with an R.
Yep.
So that's one part of it, yeah. Some of the tubes sticking through the firewall were a slightly weird angle, and so to cap the tubes, I put a big potato chip shaped
Yep.
tube section on there.
Okay.
That looked like a shoulder pad that a woman would wear in the 80s or 90s or whatever.
Yeah, when
So,
they had like jack coats on that would have. Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom had a couple of those hanging up.
Yeah,
That might have been a
so
Every
90s
mom
thing.
did.
for whatever reason, we decided to call it Big Rhonda because there's an episode of that 70s show where there's a lady that they were asking if to take her shoulder pads off, and she wasn't wearing any.
If I don't get a freaking M&M, I'm gonna start swinging.
Have you weighed this truck?
I feel like we did, but
I don't know what it weighs.
Okay.
it's not the heaviest one we've
It's
built.
definitely not heavy.
Whose is the heaviest?
Listers.
Listers?
7,200.
Okay.
7,250 with no one in it.
Yeah,
Copy.
the price is like 6,800.
And it still moves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's just look at the shoulder pads.
What shoulder pads?
So Randy came to us and was gonna build this truck himself.
Yep.
With his stock car body. And so he bought the kit. We sold him some shocks. We sold him the fiberglass. we don't normally build weld-it-yourself stuff.
Yeah.
But we gave him some trailing arms that were tacked together. I don't know if it was a year, 2 years later. It's like there was one B-pillar bent and the trailing arms were welded. It's like, I'm never going to get this done.
Yeah.
These are big projects. They take a lot of time. The wheels move. Everything has big travel. And
Absolutely.
you have to cycle it, and it's not 100% cut and dry.
Yeah.
So this is the part over here that stuck in my head, the name Big Rhonda.
You know, that's so much more tasteful than I thought. I was so afraid there was going to be just a shitty floating piece of steel in there.
No, it's just something odd about where this came out in this tube.
The transition.
Like doing a teardrop wouldn't work, so we just needed a...
At some point, you just got to do something and move on.
Yeah, that's way better than I thought. I thought I'm talking that, you know,
No,
that kind of
no,
like half of a Nerf ball, you know.
Yeah, but it's like most people this wouldn't bother them, but to guys who do it every day, it's like it's a little bit painful. Like you're just not like 100% in like love with what it is.
Yeah, to try to get a win on it. Feel
Yeah.
good about it.
It's functional though.
Yeah, it does the job.
Yep.
There's nothing really wrong with it. That's where the name came from.
So he had it. He barely got started on the thing, right?
Yep.
And the front, the shock towers were tacked up.
Shock towers were
And that was
tacked up.
Okay.
There was a bunch of tubes that started to build, and he's a tradesman. He's an electrician, so he bends pipe, conduit.
A lot of blue collar tradesmen, especially electricians too.
Yeah.
My old buddy Chris Vaca, he did a C10, and he did that in our garage, you know, and it was just, and I'm like, damn, you got it, dude. Like,
Yeah.
you're learning as you go, but damn, you're getting it, you know. And so I know that like a lot of us blue collar guys can just throw down, even if it's not our craft. Talk about the trailing arms.
So those were the one piece that we didn't weld.
Okay.
It's one of those pieces where him and his buddy welded them. And they were sitting in the shop when Ryan Lister and Neil came for the first time, right by the door.
Gotcha.
And they were like, "Where are we and what are we doing?"
Oh shoot. Yeah. Bad for the
Should we
brand.
just back out and walk out right now.
Never give up. Never surrender.
How long have you guys had it?
It's been out for two
seasons it's been running
Okay.
driving, like just like this.
And what was the construction time for you guys on this thing?
I think it was about a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's
And
front to back.
Yeah, I started this when I was still part-time at the race shop.
Yep.
And then I finished it when I was full-time.
Let's talk about the front.
The truck has a theme. It's box structures with holes, sleeve holes in it.
Yeah, kind of a plated four-way box thing.
Yep.
With dimension in them, you know, and then through holes. Stout. Looks like a lot of that is broke too, or did you blend?
Blended it.
Okay, copy. I mean, that's honestly the faster way to do it than trying to get those things right. Like,
Especially when you're doing them just once.
yep. And if you get MIG welding going, then
Yeah.
easy peasy, you know. This is a Missoula kit, right?
Missoula, yep.
And are these still available?
I believe so, yes. I think he does them in runs. So
Okay.
You got to time it right if you want to buy one.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's hands down the best kit there is.
It drives so much better. It's the best. I mean, not that the other ones don't drive good, but there's just something about driving a Missoula kit that just is like,
Yeah, and
it's just a sweet spot.
from design perspective too, they always look the best. They have like the best brakes and contours, and they make the most sense to me. So you're running, it looks like a 2.5, and then that's a 3.5.
Yep. No, three.
3. Oh, okay.
2.5, 3.0.
And what is the what's the cycle on these things?
It's just about 17.
Okay, and that's pretty typical.
Yeah.
All the stock stuff, right?
Yep. All stock-based wiring. I mean, like we said, we primarily factory premium. Plus, if this thing breaks, you can go to the parts store and get a lot of stuff for it.
And this is
intentionally designed to be worked on.
Yeah, and that's what I've noticed with you, Ryan, is you do have like some tiers of builds.
Yeah.
And levels where you can still have great success and get wins with different like finish work. And what I mean by that is running a factory harness for the most part. This looks like a factory 5.3 or something.
Yeah. So it is.
Hold on before we get on tangent.
All right.
But just that's Ryan calls this factory premium plus.
Yes.
So look at like factory brakes, right?
Yep.
Electronics. Obviously.
Meters, power steering pumps.
Yep.
As much. GM spent a ton of time developing this stuff.
Yeah.
And a couple dudes in a shop are not going to outdevelop GM.
That's what I do. That same thing about phone cases because I run no phone case.
Yeah.
I'm like, Apple designed this thing to fall with way more engineers than a phone case company.
Oh my god.
This is kind of how I did Beth too. Run all the running gear. Everything that fails suspension-wise is upgraded. Yep. The whole chassis is completely reinforced. But then you get all of your factory amenities that makes not only the budget a little better, But again, like you said, you can go into an auto parts store and get this stuff anywhere, anytime.
We've been involved or seen trucks where it's like it takes forever to take something apart.
You totally.
GM spent some time figuring out how the AC comes out and the heater box goes in and the motor mounts are right where they belong.
Yep. All right, so let's touch on that motor again.
So Randy bought this as a flood truck.
Okay.
And before he met us,
Meaning?
like it's insurance auction. Like it was somewhere, the water was up to here.
Okay.
They scrapped it. He bought it. And he had somebody reblock his 5.3 to be aluminum so the truck would be light.
Okay.
You don't reblock a 5.3, you get a 6-liter.
Yeah.
You get a 6.2.
Sure.
You just get a junkyard motor and slam it in there.
Yep.
He thought he was doing this wonderful thing by reblocking it and saving. So your truck's going to be 7,000 pounds.
Yeah, I don't even.
60 pounds doesn't matter.
Exactly. I don't think it's a huge difference.
No.
When I was building it, I didn't find out it was a flood truck until I took the dash apart and there was river silt on the inside of the firewall.
Hell yeah.
Inside of the cab.
That's what's up. You've retained all stock stuff up front.
Yep.
Missoula kit, looks like a 2-inch by 2-inch bump.
Yep.
And then obviously like the crucial reinforcement, like even that junction here, going well, that's engine. That's not even A-pillar. That's just engine cage.
Yep.
And then tie-ins from the pivots.
Yep.
You have your lower pivot tie-in down here too. And then all of, door bars, just tons of reinforcement. And I think that's the most important thing with these is this corner on each side of the car, like A-pillar into engine cage is like that classic, just
critical. It takes a ton of time to do it.
Yeah.
But it's the longevity. In 10 years, this thing will still be intact.
Yeah. I mean, just one hard hit on a front where it's not just a nose stuff on both corners, but just one will twist a whole truck up.
Yeah.
Like indefinitely. And then you're talking, you twist chassis like that and it's not rigid, and then you're going to damage your trans. You're going to start having engine problems. Like you'll start having more than just a crooked truck. It'll reflect like a domino.
Yeah, we're redoing one at the shop right now where it flexed so hard, the shock tower hit the brake booster.
Yep.
Well, when we were fixing it, the brake booster broke the stuff under the dash because it got moved so far. And then why did it take forever? I had to fix this
Pull the
crack and that
dash.
thing and it's an endless domino effect of what's broken, and it's never going to be as right
Totally.
as if you just do it once.
I love the reservoir here.
The Washzuka?
That thing's awesome.
That's the washer tank.
Is it? Man, that
Gotta
thing's
have
dope.
wipers.
Yeah.
All right.
Big old suppressor on that thing.
Yeah, we call it the Washzuka.
The Washzuka. Heck yeah. Yeah, so everything's factory, right? Like wipers, like
Wipers
you said, work. Everything's
power mirrors work.
Yeah, yeah.
All the doodads. And you got it. We get days of rain up here. You can come up here and it might be snowing.
Yep. So cage.
Some stuff we did in house.
Okay, so this is not anybody else's design. This is your stuff.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's one of the fun parts is there's a slight bend in this door bar here.
Yeah.
You can just see there's a little bend to clear the door card.
Yeah.
And Randy came in when we were doing it. He's like, "Man, you guys really lucked out that doesn't hit the door card." Like we intentionally built this
By
thing
design.
that way. Yeah, like it's not luck.
Yeah, it just felt like putting a kink in that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is pretty dynamic up here. Kind of a nicely finished headliner insert piece.
Yep.
I like this.
Well, that's a very rally. My background, I have some rally racing background, and that's a lot of FIA cages are that way.
Yeah.
It takes this, supports the load better,
Yeah.
runs it down the pillar.
Yeah, plus it looks cool.
Yeah.
Okay? It looks cool.
It definitely looks cool.
So, that's a PRP Alpha in the front, right?
PRP
Containment.
Alpha. That's what Randy wanted.
Yeah. It's got some weird logo on the bottom here.
A terrible logo.
Oh, look at the door panel trim. Or the pillar trim. That's cool.
Just try and retain as much
Yeah.
as you can so it feels like a real truck.
Yeah, and those are details that oftentimes you can leave out, but they make such a difference. And if you kind of look at it, it's all notched. Lower door bar, B pillar, upper door bar.
I remember when in 15 we went to Glamis with Frank's truck and it had carpet, and this lady leans in there and says, "It has carpet." Just turns to her husband and starts giving him the business that their truck doesn't have carpet.
Yeah.
These can have carpet. I want carpet in my truck.
Totally. Yeah, and it makes a huge difference. There's something so cool about seeing all the cage work and all the raw structure, and then having just a little bit of,
Factory.
Yeah, exactly. Some kind of amenity. Yeah. And then those back there, what are those podiums?
Podiums.
Yeah.
There is a subwoofer hidden back in there. That was one thing that the customer wanted.
Yeah, I've noticed that customers, they want their subwoofers.
Yeah, they like
That's
that.
a thing. So there's some kind of tie-in with people with their trucks and their
His
subwoofers.
favorite music is John Mayer, so he wants to be able to listen to that maximum volume.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I mean, look at the seat room. Like that is a nice, comfy 4-seater right there. There's no doubt.
And strong.
Yeah, 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 and it doesn't really infringe on you at all. You know, it's surprising how much room there is.
That's the kind of stuff when you're building it, you got to get in and out of it a bunch of times. And
Yeah.
what's the experience? Like there's safety and then there's like enjoyment.
Absolutely.
And when you get in the dunes, you'll see like you're in and out of this thing every 5 or 10 minutes.
Totally. I love that. Yeah, and then you can kind of see where the shock mounts start through here. It looks like there's a trim tab or a trim panel that goes in here or something.
There'd be a factory one that could go
These
back
guys?
there. Yep.
Oh, and then that's the subwoofer mount, custom thing in there.
Yeah.
All aluminum.
Jolly, yep.
Yeah, yeah. This is what really intrigues me because of all the shapes. The shapes
the
are fun.
shapes?
Yeah, there's good shapes back here.
You know what hole that goes
The
into,
triangle.
right?
Triangle.
That's right, the square hole.
This was the first truck we did with pivot boxes, so that was
Okay.
one of the biggest changes for the back half.
Yeah. Oh, where the frame transitions into the pivots.
Yes.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so that's what we're getting at is instead of having, like an outer trailing arm mount that would mount off the frame, you'd have the frame, the whole frame structure here, and then this whole box would have the lower trailing arm mount and the upper pivot integrated in and just transitioning off of the frame, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And also connected into the chassis, into the cab too.
Yep. And this is that same bracing before we get to the back. I mean, it's the same thing. So you guys do utilize the factory cross members, right? I mean, this is the second one we've seen now like that.
Yes.
Well, it's just a matter of like advantage. Like you replace that big 4-inch tube with a 2-inch tube, it's not going to be as strong. It's not going to be as stiff.
Yeah, and it's already
And it's
easy
there,
structure, like all
and-
this.
And it's not a big value added.
Yeah.
You can make sweet cross members, you can do cool stuff, but it doesn't get the truck done quicker, and it just costs more money.
Yeah, and that's built to come out easy. You know, like even if you're using tube connectors down here, those things are always a pain in the dick.
And just so you know, don't buy them at the junkyard. They're like $55 from GM.
Dang.
If you have to modify them,
Yeah.
just get a new one from GM.
Yeah. Yeah, so everything's just tied in.
The factory body mount,
Yep.
the cage ties in right next to it.
Yeah, they kind of knew structurally what they were doing too.
Yeah.
And that I really love that. That makes life easy. And it's like even these portions that are fixed, like this X portion, that doesn't need to come out. So everything can just live there, and you don't have to worry about tube connectors. You don't have to worry about anything dropping out because the factory already kind of laid it out for you.
Like when we're doing the exhaust, we always try and keep it behind the tranny so the tranny can come out without taking the exhaust out. Make them easier to work on.
Sure.
The other big advantage with these pivot boxes is you get the big spread on the rear links. To
Totally.
keep that axle situated.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the way, and you always kind of want that center line to be like that too. Where you kind of want them in line with each other instead of like if that lower mount is on the outside of the frame, then the upper mount usually is compromised to where it's on the inside, and there's like a very great spread, and that's what you're talking about too is the actual, like, if you look at this almost like a V where it goes to the top of the housing, and then you want these things to be as wide as possible, and that's not just for strength but for stability too. That makes the car handle way better. That's probably the best way to do things, is having a pivot box right off the frame like that. The exhaust detail is really cool. Like I geek on stuff like that, where it's coming through here.
Yep.
Now, was that by design, or did you just have a hole there?
No,
and you're like, we're gonna do that?
he wanted it out there.
Okay.
And really, he wanted it to come out the bedside, but we made some bad measurements, and a 3-inch pipe doesn't fit like we thought it would.
Yeah,
here.
copy.
And with, like the bend radius and stuff, like we should have just done it a little different. So turned down for what?
One thing I see right after that is mid-cell. Mid-cell, is what you would call a car like this that has a fuel cell behind the cab and not after the rear axle. I also see what looks like 17 or so inches of up travel at ride height.
Yeah.
That's the most crucial thing. Is what were you gonna say?
The proportions. If the front wheel and tire travels here, you want the rear one to travel like that. You can get a truck where it has a lot of front and a lot of rear, but they're off.
Yeah.
The bump needs to be higher in the rear than it is in the front for it to work well.
Totally.
And that's something people talk, they talk about the travel number, but not where it travels.
Absolutely.
A truck that has 12 and 14 in the right position can definitely outdo something that has 20 and 22 if it's not correct.
And I totally agree, and that's why I say of up travel, you know, because that for trucks, the up travel thing for trucks is the most important. They love having up travel, like at ride height, and the more you can have of that, like I don't even care if that thing barely droops out. Like if it has just huge up travel, that's where you get performance.
And it just helps that back from doing that all the time.
Yep, and bucking. Yep.
It can absorb it.
But I love all this stuff. These ones are really cool because they're on a plane change.
When we did this back half, we started with this section on the bench, and we just wanted to add a little bit of, like, a little bit better than your garage fabricator normally would do. Right?
Sure.
Like where's that balance of cost versus cool? So we did this, we did these. It's like, okay, now what's the next piece to add that to make it look complete?
Yeah, I mean, all this transition, like all the sway bar, like the bump stop transition. Yeah. And it's kind of cool, too, because I like that it goes from plate, or from tube, you know, from like the cab, goes to tube, and then it transitions into plate and box structure. And it's usually like a big box structure here, and then it just dives off into tube.
Yeah. And
it's still so much to support back here.
Yeah.
Is this one of your housings under here?
Yeah, this was the second one we built.
Okay.
You can tell because it's unbranded.
It's unbranded, yep.
Yeah, so that's your MIG welded version.
Yep.
And it's a 3.5, so it's like the Prerunner. So we do the MIG welded 3.5 and the TIG welded 4.
Yeah.
And then
are these heat treated?
No.
These ones are not. No.
Copy. I like the little bulkhead into the sway bar tab. Get a little 2-in-1.
Yeah. Just try and make everything as tidy. Like, making it look simple is a little bit harder than it actually is.
Usually the simplest things are the most complex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you could glue a tab on for the brakes and a tab on for the other thing, but it just doesn't look complete.
Yeah, I mean, the integration ones, anywhere you can, where you can do a 2-for-1 or a 3-for-1 are always helpful. Yeah. I notice a lot of your trucks, too, they have a hitch on the back.
Yeah, I'm glad you saw that, because I know you don't like hitches.
Well, I think there's a way to do it clean, you know?
So just, what do we got to do to improve so it's clean?
No, well, what do you use that for?
Towing out.
So, the guy who owns this truck also owns a retired Pro 2 that's been turned into a sand truck.
Okay.
So he'll tow bar that to the dunes with this.
Yep, and see, that makes sense to me. Like, that's where, like my reference for not liking those is putting them on the front of a car.
Yep.
Right, like, that I get. But when it's a winch, and you go, well, the winch comes with this, so just build that into there, and then you can use this, like that.
Wrong answer.
Yeah, that's it. So I think that, like, that makes perfect sense, and also the angle is right. You know, like I've seen some too where they're angled, like just with the plane of the skid or something.
Yep.
And then that.
Who's his angle to the plane of the skid? That guy.
I wasn't referring to you.
It's that guy's truck.
You know, no, I don't have a discrepancy with those things. I just think that, like, you got to make sense of that. And if there's a functional way to make sense of it, totally.
It keeps it a truck. That's kind of what we talk about.
Absolutely.
Well, and you get like a factory 55 or whatever it is hook in there when you get towed out, because when this is stuck, it's stuck.
Yeah, definitely.
You and a couple buddies probably aren't going, let me push it up.
Oh, that's absolutely not. Yeah, that's hard enough to just roll a truck like this, especially if it's spooled. Is this spooled?
Yeah.
Okay. And then this thing, I also noticed too, it's on 37s.
Yep.
So what's the theory behind that? Is that kind of just to keep the parts?
The customer gets to pick.
Okay.
We tried to get him to go to 40s, so I'll never need a 40. The 40s are the thing, man.
They ride good.
They do ride good.
And that's the bottom line. The bigger the tire, the smaller the bumps feel.
But he's coming from a VW buggy, so a 37 seems massive.
Totally. Yeah, it's beautiful. And then your cooler's back here. So is that just one big trans cooler?
Yep, one big trans cooler.
And are you running an oil cooler?
On this one, no.
Okay. Have you experienced needing to have an oil cooler on some of these
Oil
things?
coolers help,
Okay.
but
Just depends on the powertrain too, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
You know what you're doing, how long you're gonna run it, what the longevity is.
Totally.
Yeah, and like even on the shock mount here, like we just want to keep it like normally you get another tube here.
Yeah.
And it just looks busy and
Yep.
not well thought out. So
Yeah.
This is the first truck we mitered the down tubes on
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
I just we don't love. I hate when they come out like this and then some bend.
Yeah, that's a tricky thing. It's almost like you used whatever the bender would let you bend, and then you stabbed it.
Yep.
And that's the whole reason I like miters is they're extremely strong, and the thing is, they change direction faster than a bend.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. Like they get you out of what you're doing up here, and they get you down there as quickly and tightly as possible.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. Has this truck had any like issues? Like have you ran into any kind of things? Just solid.
He breaks he'll break a factory radiator every once in a while.
Okay. And then does this have that same rack as the other truck? This is your factory rack.
The one thing we didn't talk about is this is a 6-speed truck.
We delivered it on Wednesday. We took him around town, ripped it around. It was fun.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just called him Friday when he was loading up to come for the holiday. He's like, the truck's really slow. What do you mean it's really slow? We just drove it. It was ripping. And it's just a 5.3 with a Brian Tooley stage 4 cam.
Yep.
So I'm like, stop by the shop on the way up.
Yeah.
Tranny, it's a tranny. Remember, it's a flood truck.
Yeah.
The
Yep.
valve body malfunction is stuck in third.
Sure.
So we had another tranny. We ripped the valve body out of that, put it in there. And when I pulled the pan and you looked at all the drums, they're all rusted. It's like, dude, there's no way this tranny's going to last.
Yeah.
Like, you're on borrowed time. Put the valve body in. He has never had it out.
Yeah.
There's still rusty parts inside that thing, and it lives at the limiter all weekend for 2 years.
How do you shift this thing?
With a button.
Well,
Okay, so it is still it's still that little column thing.
It's tricky when you're going through the whoops and you're trying to change gears and you hit a button. You're like, oh man, did I hit it or did I not hit it? Do I need to hit it again?
But even we've programmed the shifting, so we've done a lot with the shifting on it.
Yep.
So like if it's in drive and you stick your wife in it, it's going to do pretty good.
Yeah.
For just running around at 80%, 60%.
Sure.
But if you really want to beat on it, you just stick it in second or third or fourth and just stand on it.
Yeah, totally. That's pretty cool. And you know, I think a 6-speed, I mean that's arguably maybe a quicker transmission for a car because you're using more power.
Yep. And like what I noticed when we took Troy and Sarah's truck out to Glamis is like, if you really want to be aggressive, you can be in third.
Yeah.
If you want to just cruise a little bit, you can be in fourth. The ratios are just closer and they work well. And everybody with a 6-speed, we haven't had one person break one yet. 400s, the 80s, they break them.
Sure.
But
that's awesome.
In the programming, we leave the torque management to save the tranny too. So that's it's not the fastest. It still shifts fast, but it's not like it's maximum 400 and have the gear.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the only thing I've noticed with like call it a Tiptronic or whatever is just when you're trying to drive those things spiritedly, it lets you not blow them up.
Yeah.
Because like I've done it in the Corvettes and stuff when they were first starting those things and they would like lag on you. You're like, dude, I want that gear. Like, give me that gear, and it wouldn't let you until it felt like it was safe.
Yeah, we've worked with all those parameters in the computer to do that.
Totally. I love it. I love what was your coin for this stuff? Premium Plus?
Factory Premium Plus.
Factory Premium Plus.
Like you want like when you drive by your mom's house for her not to really know that the truck's modified. Like it looks stock, it's a stock color.
Yeah.
When the sand car guys get involved, they want to wrap them or do flames or tribals. Like, no, you're not allowed.
Yeah.
If GM made it this color, just paint the glass that color.
Totally. Yeah, it's beautiful like that. What is this color? What's it called? Do you know?
No idea.
It's called bluish green
Gray,
stuff.
blue.
Yeah. The Chevy guys are gonna hate all of us.
It's paint code 763. It's a metallic.
Yeah, you guys are slipping.
When you talk to Graf, you can ask him the paint code. He's a painter.
Yeah, I know. He's awesome. Do you guys have any plans for this thing, or is this it? Like, is it kind of turnkey done?
Rock and Randy just keeps driving it.
Yeah.
He's almost boomer status because when he was at Dirt Fest, he reset his odometer.
Did 24 miles, you said, at
Copy.
Dirt Fest.
Okay.
I think in the future he needs a 6-liter, 6.2, just something with a little
More power, yeah.
A little bit more. Not a lot, a little bit.
Yeah, and then, you know, maybe, I don't know if will it clear 40s, do you know?
No, not a chance.
Okay. So it was built for this.
Yeah. It was built for this.
All right, guys. So I think that's it. Thank you so much for showing me.
You're welcome.
I always look forward to this stuff. I love what you do out here. You're an awesome welder.
Thank you.
Seriously.
I love it.
And I mean, if you don't want to coin yourself as a fabricator,
No, I don't.
whatever.
No, welder for sure.
But you're a badass welder,
Thank you.
dude. Yeah. Thank you, guys. If you have questions, you can always hit up Linger.
Yeah.
Follow these guys. We'll put their tags in. And have a good day. Like, comment, subscribe. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.